Let's bring in Sky News host Jenna Clark. Thank you for joining me, Jenna. Look, big news today. A report in the Wall Street Journal claims, and in Reuters, as well, claims that Australia is set to buy up to 5 US nuclear-powered submarines. Anthony Albanese is expected to discuss Australia's acquisition of submarines when he meets with the United States and British presidents and prime ministers on Monday. Jenna, there are queries about whether or not this report is accurate. When I interviewed Scott Morrison last week, he said his understanding as part of the original AUKUS deal is that it would be British submarines powered by American weapons. But this report makes it sound like this would just be American submarines. What do we know about this?
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it, Sharon? I think it's had all of Canberra a bit of a flutter today. And I think the really interesting thing is I think everyone's sort of waiting with bated breath now just to see what China's response will be when Beijing wakes up to read this news. Because obviously when we talk about the AUKUS deal, we mainly focus on the South China Sea, obviously the Taiwan fracas that continues on, and also they are our biggest trading partner. So the Prime Minister has to walk a pretty fine line when it comes to these sort of negotiations with the US. But one thing that is really interesting to me, Shari, and I know that we talk about, the really big, military might of the US, and we've got submarines, we've got tanks and things like that. And I know that submarines are going to focus specifically on underground telecommunications technology, which is fantastic. No one is talking about the fact that the next sort of world war that we may see, heaven forbid it doesn't happen on our watch or happens ever, it's going to happen on these things, on mobile telephones. You just have to stop the internet and everyone is going to stop dead in their tracks. So it's going to be interesting to see who is going to champion that element of the telecommunications issue, the cyber warfare issue in government. As we have seen with the coalition, we've had the former Home Affairs Minister Karen Andrews come out today basically warning about apps like TikTok. And sorry to be, a Nancy No Mates, just a little bit bitter that she doesn't get enough likes on Instagram and stuff, but it is really something we have to focus on.
It absolutely.
It's a real big issue hats off to Senator James Paterson, who's been on your show many times, talking about this specific issue. Cyber warfare is a very real problem.
Yeah, and there's no question that both the former coalition government and now the Labor government are too slow at actually developing a proper cybersecurity strategy. Now, Origin Energy has warned that up to 600,000 households, 600,000, will have a power bill increase of at least 20% on July 1. Jenna, this is on top of rate rises. We've already had 10 consecutive interest rate rises, which are obviously being passed on to people with mortgages, but also passed on to families in higher rents. This 20% bill increase on July 1 this year is going to cause a lot of pain for families.
Absolutely, and I think this is probably going to make a lot more people's ears prick up, considering everyone, probably has a power bill, whether you're directly paid or not. You're all involved in keeping the lights on and keeping the AC on these couple of months, as opposed to, an interest rate or a mortgage and things like that. So I think this is definitely going to be something that the government are going to have to look at. Specifically, apparently there was a cap on gas prices a couple of months ago that passed the Parliament. I wonder where that discussion is going to lead us in the next parliamentary sitting fortnight come March 20, because this is bread and butter fighting ground for the coalition. We had Susan Lee step up in Parliament during question time all week this week talking about where's our $275 reduction on our electricity prices, Mr Albanese. So I think this is going to be something that the government are going to have to war game pretty carefully as we run up to the colder months.
There was chaos across the Greater Sydney rail network yesterday. The system crashed. Tens of thousands of passengers were stranded during the peak afternoon commute, and the traffic was at a standstill as well. Sydney Trains has put it down to an unprecedented communications breakdown. But with just over 2 weeks now to go until the New South Wales election, the opposition in New South Wales was quick to jump on this one. They accused the coalition of underfunding the train network. Do you think this is going to have an impact in what is shaping up to be quite a tight poll?
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone could sort of read the tea leaves the minute that this sort of happened and those tweets came out from Transport New South Wales last night saying there's commuter chaos out there, please be patient. You just already knew that the opposition were tearing up their talking points for today and knew that they had to go hard on this transport issue because it has been a disaster for as many years as I can remember in Sydney when it comes to public transport. The system continually seems to fail. So it's going to be interesting to see if this, I myself would love to see an election fought on issues like like this, because these are the issues that politicians can fix, not some esoteric, ideological issue. This sort of stuff is what matters to people. So hopefully that the opposition in Chris Minns really goes hard on this and gets some answers from the government in the next couple of days.
Yeah, you're right. State government is ultimately about service delivery. They've got to get healthcare, ambulances, hospitals, the rail network. These are the things they have to get right. Now, Deputy Federal Liberal leader Susan Ley, she says the small number of female colleagues that she has in her coalition in the Liberal Party in the House of Representatives is not acceptable. She's spoken out about this. Jenna, do you think the Liberal Party should be introducing quotas, or do you think it should just stick with its policy at the moment, which is to select the best candidate regardless of gender?
I love the way, Sherry, you've gotten away with not saying the word merit, and that is like a drinking game when you talk about things about quotas when it comes to women. So I understand that the Deputy Leader this is an issue that she has really championed. I know that she has done a bit of a roadshow around the country. She was in Western Australia just a couple of weeks ago speaking to a lot of grassroots members, trying to entice women to join the Liberal Party, because that's essentially what you need to do to be even consider pre-selection. Join your local branch if you have an interest in the Conservative side of politics. I think that's the problem. We need to flood the party with some fantastic women, and we are sort of seeing some green shoots come through. I know in my hometown, in my electorate, there's a number of ladies that are really interested in putting their hands up for pre-selection, but it's a matter of, sure, it's getting them to that level, but then make sure there is the mentoring and the pathways for them to be pre-selected, and they get rid of some of the nonsense when it comes to branch stacking, as we have seen all around the country when it comes to the Liberal Party over the past couple of years.
Now, moving on to another topic, the Attorney General Mark Dreyfus he's been drawn into this workplace dispute between Monique Ryan, the independent MP who replaced Josh Frydenberg, and her former Chief of Staff Sally Rugg. And as we know, Sally Rugg is suing Monique Ryan over alleged unreasonable work hours. Now, Jenna, what is Mark Dreyfus's involvement, and do you think this case could also lead to a whole raft of other government employees, other press secretaries, media advisors coming forward claiming their hours have also been excessive? Because if it does, there would be hundreds.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think we're ever going to see a politics run from 9 to 5, because it never ever sleeps. And I know that everyone tries to talk about, a better work-life balance. But there's two elements to this that really stuck out to me, Sharon. And I know that the AG is probably going to get involved, and that's probably also to clean up things from a government point of view as well, because the optics are very important when it comes to the ALP at a federal level. But the interesting thing is when you read the affidavits and all of the evidence that was tendered to the judge a couple of days ago, there were issues that Sally didn't want to work those additional hours, and that was fine. She didn't work them. But then also, she's been pulling a tax-funded wage of 6 figures since she sort of stepped aside late last year. So I think that would probably raise a lot of the ratepayers and the taxpayers of Australia to think that you've been on gardening leave for the past couple of months, and we've been paying for you. Well, the rest of us are having to deal with 20% increase in our gas and electricity prices, and also raising interest rates. So I think this is going to be a real cultural issue. I don't think it's going to be a systemic issue when it comes to the debate around what the work ethics and what the work culture will be like at politics at large.